gracious! Do you think she's handsomely paid?
It's called the bend and snap.
This is a game of focus.
You may not believe this, but people keep falling desperately in love with me.
Oh, I believe it.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Films versus movies, cinemas versus streaming. The past 10 years of film has seen massive changes, let alone the past 100. How can little students like us make such an impact on a big industry? I'm joined by Natasha, Director of WSUPNews, and Salah, our Marketing Officer, to discuss what film is right now and where it's going to go in the future.
Woo! Excited to be here.
Very excited.
So guys, what do you think makes a great film?
Where to start? Nat, I'll let you go first.
I think what makes a great film is they still have to have that element of like similar problems and similar like have similar themes in the film for audiences to sort of connect with them. So I think like what makes a good film is just like sort of grounding it in reality.
I don't know. What does make a good film? I'd say when I'm watching a film, what makes me turn off immediately is if there's no chemistry and if the writing is ass.
The writing is so important, and I
It
feel like
is.
we've lost it with a lot of these cash grabs.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is really disappointing to say, but sometimes they can be still successful. So maybe my better question is, what makes a successful film in today's world?
Maybe I'm biased, but I'm going to say marketing. I feel like marketing plays a huge role, especially like look at the press releases that we've had over the like last 2 years alone. We've had Barbenheimer with the massive press tours on both sides. We've got challenges earlier this year.
Wicked.
With Zendaya. Oh yeah, Wicked, Ariana and Cynthia and everyone coming down here. I feel like companies put in a lot more money than they used to, especially for blockbuster companies, just to have that like viral moment, have it trend on TikTok, have it trend on Instagram. I feel like that is so important to create the conversation that in turn makes the film successful.
Absolutely. Like they know that their audiences are on those social media platforms. So in order to connect with them, they have to sort of put it all on those platforms and everything.
I would say, wouldn't you say that like edits play such a big part? Like editors should get paid.
So, Salah, from a marketing perspective, is there any press tour that you've really been inspired by, or are you in a different field altogether?
Let me put my thinking cap on.
I like how you're
No, I'm
going down
kidding.
that lane.
I would say challenges because I love Zendaya.
Yes.
Shout out to my queen. But I just also love her. I know Margot Robbie did it first with Barbie, where they did the press tour looks based and inspired from the movie. But I feel like Zendaya, I mean, Margot did it beautifully, but I loved Zendaya's take on it, especially from fashion perspective. I feel like she did it so well, and I feel like that created a lot of buzz as well. So I would say that was my favorite press tour. Also, like seeing the challenges team hit all the like checkpoints of a press tour, like hot wings, or like playing with puppies for BuzzFeed, or like what was the other one? Amelia, like the chicken shop date with Amelia, like stuff like that. Even Andrew and Florence recently on their like run. I know it wasn't as big, but they still did quite a bit of press for it. I feel like stuff like that is so important because you want to be able to go to a film and see a little bit of the cast and the directors as well. Press like that helps a lot in kind of making people want to go see it, I'd say. What about you, Nat?
Yeah, it's almost the norm now. Like you expect when a movie's coming out with the promotion, you expect now like the chicken shop date, you expect to see some of like the actors, the cast personality and everything, like what they're wearing. It's sort of like audiences expect that now. And that's because like they started on this thing now that they're just continuing. Hollywood's continuing.
As little indie filmmakers out here in Western Sydney, how do we fall into that? Natasha, I know you spoke to Milena Bennett, who directed Cactus, which recently won a little award at a festival. Not a little award, sorry. An award at a little festival.
Congratulations, Melina.
We love you.
Yes.
And we love your short film.
Big shout out.
We did do an article on it. Hit us up if you're in Western Sydney. If we love
Absolutely.
interviewing our directors.
100%.
Made in the West Film Festival happens every November. Out
November
in
30th.
Liverpool. It's November 30th, 2024.
It's Probably gonna.
Yeah, it's
be,
probably
yeah.
it's probably gone,
Gone
by
by
the
now.
time you release.
But for next year.
Yeah.
For next year, absolutely. Tash, how do you think that we can make an impact on an industry that takes so much money?
Yeah, well, like we asked these questions to Melina, like basically with indie films and everything, obviously with the budget, you can't compare to like something Marvel. But what makes a great film, and you don't, like what will still attract audiences is making sure like you have those themes in, and then audiences will come no matter what. Like with the characters and everything.
Beautiful. Are there any indie movies that you guys have particularly connected with?
Can I look up my letterbox?
Oh, we love a letterbox.
If blanking.
If you guys are looking up, I'm gonna prattle on for a little bit and say Blaze in 2022 was a little indie movie made by a beautiful artist that I do not have the name of in front of me because I wasn't expecting to talk for this long. I saw her DVDs on JB Hi-Fi real cheap, so I bought like 5 of them just so that they would continue to exist. My worst fear is that these little indie movies are just going to disappear. You know, they're not on streaming. I think it is now, but at the time it wasn't on streaming, and we've kind of moved away from DVDs. Like, I miss my little archive. I want my bookshelves back.
One of the points Melina made was that, you know, it's she's funding it so she can do basically whatever she wants. You don't have to cater to, you know, the big bosses and everything. So there's freedom in indie films. There's freedom in making the story at the end of the day that you want to make. And she mentioned like a few films and shows that she really loves. So basically, I think there's definitely like audiences like the variety, audiences like knowing that, like, you know, it's different. You're getting something different to like a Marvel movie.
Absolutely. And there's a smaller audience, but a more dedicated one. Like,
Absolutely.
I'll pay extra for a movie ticket if I know it's taking care of that director,
Yes.
an actor, and everyone else involved. There's lots of important people involved.
I would say from this year, there was this movie called Snack Shack. Not if you guys have seen it, but it's just about these 2 high school kids for the summer. I think it was early 90s, where they just try to make a lot of money and get a lot of girls.
Who hasn't been there?
But yeah, who hasn't been there? Am I right, Nat? Who hasn't been there?
Absolutely.
But I just liked it was classic indie, like no plot, just character driven, which I feel like is a must, I would say, for most indie films. But I really love the film Begin Again with Keira Knightley. That's like one of my favorite indie films.
Me
Have
too.
you seen it? Yeah.
I absolutely
It's so
love
good.
it. The chemistry with her and Mark Ruffalo.
Yes.
And they're just
so good.
friends, like, but it's so it's great.
And watching that movie, I thought like, oh my god, this is what love is, like walking on the
through the
road.
city, walking
yeah,
through
just
the
with
city.
like sharing headphones.
They spent like one whole night just listening to the same music,
It's
and
so
and
good.
that scene, that long scene, is just it's spectacular.
It's so good. But I would say, like, I feel like indie films at the end of the day, like even Boyhood, Call Me by Your Name, Beautiful
Yes.
Boy, they all started out as indie films. I feel like people, once a community is able to relate to certain things, which I feel like is common with an indie film.
Absolutely.
And then it reaches like more viral status, I would say, and
Yeah.
even like cinematic, like critical acclaim, because of, I feel like indie films you can always count on for them to have chemistry and for them to
Yes.
have unique writing. Have you guys seen the film Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl?
Yes.
Yeah,
And I love it.
I loved that film as a kid. The
I
writing
cried.
is so unique. It's so unique, and I think it's like an adaptation of a book, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are just a few that I think unique writing is always going to get me.
Even like Saoirse Ronan, she could have like the pick of any films, but every single interview, and this year too, every single interview I see of her, she says she loves indie films. She wants to like stay in indie films. She's like absolutely loves
Yeah.
it, and why not?
Yeah.
I feel like IP fatigue, so like Marvel fatigue, DC.
Yes.
We keep seeing the same things over and over again. I think that's why indie's really getting its spotlight recently.
It's a breath of fresh air too. Like you want something different. You want that, you know, opportunity to see films like that.
Yeah, and as much as like we love fantasy and we love period pieces and stuff like that, I feel like people just want to be able to see their lives on camera
Absolutely.
and have it be okay.
Yep.
I do want to say the one downfall of being all the way out here in Western Sydney, I say from Parramatta, uh, is that it's so much harder to find these indie films at the cinema. We're usually trekking out into the city.
Yeah. Shout out the Ritz.
Yes.
Yes. Do you guys have a particular cinema experience? Like, what do you love about the cinema? Or do you think the cinema's going on its way out?
Yeah, it makes me sad, actually. I love the cinema. I just love being in a room with people, experiencing the same thing at the same time, watching a great film. I think, like, you can't put a price on that. I think it's just, yeah, it'd be really sad. You don't get that experience watching it at home on Netflix. You just, you know, I know there's so many films, like, just with streaming, but you can't replicate that feeling.
Surround sound.
With the popcorn, you just, yeah, it's the whole experience. And it's a shame, like, you know, you don't want that to be lost.
Absolutely. I would say, again, shout out the Ritz, because they always have retrospectives. Like, I have them booked in my calendar, and I remember a few months ago I went in for a rewatch of Mamma Mia, and it was so fun. It was just a cinema full of theater kids that were all screaming, and like they were really good because they were theater kids. They were singing the songs out, and it was just so fun because everyone was a fan. Everyone was happy to be there. But yeah, I think retrospectives and cinema in itself plays such a big part.
Absolutely. And you know, audiences, they gasp, they clap at the same time when something big happens in a moment in a cinema. Like, I remember when I saw Spider-Man, the newest one. Like, there were moments in that when everyone was like shocked, and you can just feel that tension. And then with the other moments with other films, like, people clapped. You know, in Star Wars, I remember, and also in Infinity War, Marvel, like, everyone, you know, after the end of that.
It's so fun collectively experiencing stuff together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is such a community and such a collective idea that we just don't have very much of recently.
Yep.
You know, everything's so isolated, and I think cinema really brings that back. But we've talked about indie films. Indie cinemas are carrying the weight of these good experiences. Yeah. So, like, retrospectives, I went to Glenbrook Cinema up in Blue Mountains, which is probably not making nearly enough money, but they are protected as a historical site. Thank goodness.
I love that.
So they're still making money, and they're still showing their retrospectives. I watched the 1989 Little Mermaid.
Wow.
Which was my childhood obsession.
Amazing.
Wait, is that your favorite, like, Disney film,
Ever,
would you say?
That was my the one we would watch on repeat every single day was The Little Mermaid.
And the songs.
And then the reboot came out, and I was so scared, but it was beautiful.
Perfect, yeah.
Ali, it was beautiful. Do you guys have a favorite Disney movie?
I would say Aladdin, just because I'm a brown girl, and I had to. But yeah,
With me, I'm The Lion King.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't,
Also, what was the one? Is it The Princess and the Frog? I feel like that's so good.
That did not get enough press. We're talking about marketing. That did not get enough press.
So good.
Thank you guys so much for coming and joining us. We'll talk forever if I don't stop us at some points. But I do want to ask before we leave what the greatest film is. Not your favorite, what's a good film that would showcase that for you?
That's an insane question.
I know.
I have one. It's an indie film, and it's one of my all-time favourite films. It's called Little Woods.
Beautiful.
By Nia DaCosta. It stars Tessa Thompson and Lily James. And they play sisters. And I've always been a fan of those actresses, but I've never seen them play roles like this, and you probably won't again. It's quite a dark film, and also, like, I think their acting in that film is just on another level.
I thought you were going to say Poor Things, honestly.
No, Little Woods.
I was ready.
Yeah, love it.
Oh, I love it. Beautiful. Sala, what about you? Do you have any good films?
Have you guys seen The Worst? Is it The Worst Person in the World?
Yes,
I think that film is perfect. I think it's perfect. It's the perfect film. I know it's foreign, but I literally don't care. It's perfect. I love that film so much, and I can't watch it more than a couple of times because it's a bit sad. Spoiler, no spoiler. But
sad films are usually the best.
But if I'm thinking happy, I would say, like, Chicago.
Oh,
yes.
Even though I know it's like Weinstein produced, but like
Yeah.
we
He's not
won't
making
say
any
that.
money.
Yeah,
He's in prison, right?
yeah, he's
Yes.
in prison.
It's fine. That's fine. If you are not into film, this is your summer series podcast to get into film. We are covering so many topics and we are going to tap into so many more. If you're already into film and you want to publish your articles to say, look at how smart I am, you never guess where you can go. It's us. What's
Right
Up
here.
News?
Yes,
Yeah.
right here.
Right here at What's Up News. Whatsupnews.com. Look us up. Look at our film recommendations. Look at our interviews. You want some interviews? We know all the people. We'll get you hooked.
Yeah.
That's our plug. Very professional plug. Thank you for joining us, Sala. Thank you for joining us, Natasha.
Sweet.
We'll see you again.
Thank
Thank
Jules.
you.